Hello there, and welcome to Let's Talk. I want to take us back to one of the previous videos we had about how to have a successful home. After that video, a young lady walked up to me and said, "Look, everything you have asked us to do, I do them. However, I have a situation where my husband consistently cheats." And she went back to list them. She said, "I cook for him, I clean, I build the home, I take care of the children. I spice up our sex life. However, with everything I do, my husband is still out there with other women." I could feel the pain in her voice, and I could see that actually she was looking for answers. And that's going to be the focus of our discussion today for every other woman out there who is looking for answers. Why do men cheat? And we're back to our very intelligent and experienced men in the house who've been able to navigate marriage for so many years. And I think they will be able to give us some insight today, even though I understand the insight is by observation, but through counseling and the things that they see. Why do men cheat? Let me start with Pastor Tolu this time.
So why do men cheat? What would push a man to cheat? Firstly, is, from my own observation, is no fear of God.
Okay.
That you don't have the fear of God is the first thing, because
I think I agree with that. Yeah.
It's absolutely is that you don't have the fear of God, because if you have the fear of God, that thing would always tell you what you're about to do
is wrong.
Is wrong.
And God doesn't want
And
it.
God doesn't want it. Even when you have your conscience will just be there. So that is very, very, very key. Now, having said that, that the fear of God, there are some other, maybe extraneous factors that can cause a man to cheat. A man might get to a point where you say that maybe in the house, where you don't get validation. Maybe, for example, we have a man that is in the house and he doesn't feel appreciated. He doesn't feel like the man of the house, and he goes out and maybe he goes in the office. From a personal experience that I have had some time ago, I found out that I used to work in advertising. I worked in a couple of advertising agencies, and I found out that we go to the office, we resume at 8 o'clock, and because of the kind of work we do, I may not leave until 9, 10. So I'm spending between 12 and 14 hours in the office. And there is a particular lady at the time in the office that she was having an issue in her marriage. And
she will come and be telling
she
you.
just started telling and telling. And you find out that you're in the office every day. You are spending
so
much time with this lady, more than you even spend with your wife, because by the time you get to the house, you're sleeping. So before you know it, you have emotional attachments.
Yeah.
And I had to realize that this was getting out of. I realized it to the point that I made up my mind that I was going to leave that job. I eventually left that job because I knew that there was no way that I could avoid that.
Dr. Yinka, another reason that you can think of why men cheat?
I think lack of self-control. There is temptation.
Everywhere.
But what I've observed is that if you have self-control and if you are in the right crowd, what I mean by the right crowd is that, they say, show me your friend and I will tell you who you are. The people you flock with, they will provide counsel. My wife always tells our children that your kind of friend and the advice they give you is very key. I think a young girl got pregnant. And she decided, the man said, "Oh, okay, I will marry you." My wife told me this story. I think she was an undergraduate and she was making arrangements to, And then they had an issue and they quarreled. And her friend advised her to terminate the pregnancy. And in the process, she died.
He died, unfortunately.
And what your friends tell you
Your friends actually have a lot of influence.
We really have to be careful, and that's where self-control come in. We live in a society, yes, we are Christians, but we'll have acquaintances, let me not say friends this time. But if you don't have self-control, there's a problem.
One of the reasons I find that men cheat is linked to what you said. Once you have friends that treat this issue of cheating with levity, and you're going out together, you're rolling together, one day they're going to supply you with a woman. One day they're going to make it happen.
Surely.
I think that I remember somebody said in one of the places, one of the guys came and said to me and said, that you don't drink, you don't womanize,
so what
you
do
don't
do?
Smoke. So what do you do? Are
You
you
say,
a
I
man?
praise God.
He said, are you a man?
I worship.
I said, I spend time with my family.
And I worship.
I go to church. So basically, what am I saying?
Yeah.
What are the activities that the man engage? So the things that you do, the places that you go, they kind of expose you to cheating or not. Things. So if you say, for example, oh, you don't want to cheat, you go to the club, and you party, you're exposing yourself. Remember that years ago, even before I got married, I used to have an ex, and when I got born again and I met her and we were talking, I think the first thing that I did, to her was, because I knew that there was something that was open, for her, was that I just told her, Claire, I'm a Christian.
No,
I'm born again.
Born again.
So I think that
boundaries,
you understand? So if not clearly stating your boundaries and who you are,
will open temptations to you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I would like to add one of the other key reasons that I think men cheat, and I think it's linked to what we have discussed in our previous videos, is the background that you come from. If you also grew up in a background where that's all you knew, daddy was all over the place with different women, mommy was always fighting, today you have started again. You, like we said earlier, you might also hate that kind of lifestyle. But eventually, it doesn't look shocking to you that a man has a woman at home and also goes out, after other women. And once an opportunity presents itself, you can find that eventually you might also fall in that area. I think one other thing which is also linked to background is, and this is very unfortunate, some men, when they were very young, they were molested. I want to talk more about that, please do.
Yeah, I have a couple of friends. When we were not Christians, it wasn't as if we used to have girlfriends, but I had like these two friends, that their own was just too much in terms of girls. It was later that I found out that from a very young age, I'm talking of like 10, some of them had been exposed to sex. They had been molested by older ladies. You understand? So it was just normal for them to look for expressions.
In fact, what happens with situations like that, and I think it's more common than we would like to, you said you didn't know.
No, we didn't know.
I think from what I've seen, it's very common. House helps, older ladies.
Very common, older ladies.
And then parents too sometimes are not as protective and discerning about their boys. They don't know what's happening. So you find that boys, when they are seriously molested at that young age, by the time they grow up, for them, it is just like eating. That's what it becomes. It's just like, what am I eating today? Pounded yam. What am I eating? Amala. That's how women are today, and it's just part of their psyche. There was a guy who came to meet me in church. One day, I preached in church about the fact that people need to keep themselves pure, both men and women. And after the service, this young man came to meet me and said, I really doesn't know how it's going to happen for him. That he has a fiancé. The fiancé is outside the country. He has a girlfriend here. he has another girl there. And the three of them, the fiancé, this is the one I'm going to marry. But this one, and he said he cannot do without them. I gave the example one day in Teens Church. I was also talking about this. One 17-year-old boy at the back of the class, when I was saying that fornication is sin. He wasn't even ashamed about it. He didn't say anything wrong. From the back of the class, he said, because then they used to call me mommy, just put up his hand and said, Mommy, me, I can't do without sex. He did not even think that there was anything. So I think really that early exposure. It rubs off on men the wrong way.
A lot. What was the essence of marriage? I think if we look at it critically, God wants man and woman to be together. But sometimes for economic reasons, you might be separated.
Yeah.
But for me, I always tell the people I counsel, don't let it be for too long.
For too long, yeah.
Because the absence, look, it's biological.
Yeah.
If you are a married person, your body wants sex.
Yeah.
But the truth is that if your wife is away for so long, you begin to think about
exposure.
I can tell you because I've been there. My wife went to study abroad for about 3 years. She was away. Apart from peer pressure, friends came and told me all sorts of stories. They had even asked me if there was nothing wrong with me. You know, the truth is that it's not the intention of God. It's not for you to be married and be
separated
from
for
each
too
other.
long. So that's one thing people also.
I remember a couple. Their daughter was my friend. The woman was away for 12 years. 12 straight years.
No,
there was no break in between. Guess what? They had to divorce. There was no quarrel when the woman was going. It was about looking for greener pasture, opportunities and all that. But after 12 years, let's be realistic. 12 years.
Yeah. How can men be careful to make sure? You know, I call some people serial cheaters. Those ones. For the serial cheaters, I think, first of all, what they need to have is to know God. And second is to just change their mindset. There's this area about where you have accidental one-offs. What can you do to prevent those? Both accidental one-offs, which can, if you're not careful, lead to other things. And I think one is what you said. Yeah. Please, you have actually dwelt on that. Yeah. A man should not have a deep, close relationship with the opposite sex. It should never happen. And I think if a man has any of those kind of relationships, like you said, you have to resign. Yeah. I've seen a number of men who were very keen about their home, and they left a job because in that job there was a woman. They were seriously tempted. They started looking for another job and they left.
Let me also tell you what I do as a person. If you are a lawyer, and then the part of legal I'm focused on, you know, corporate services and all that, you see a lot of women, you meet a lot of women. And working in the banking industry, I had friends who are women, but the first thing I do, the moment I see we are getting close as a woman, you are my friend, you have to be friends with my wife. I mean, the truth is that all my schoolmates who are ladies are actually my wife's friends.
Okay.
In fact, today, a good number of them are actually more of my wife's friend than me. And they got to know my wife through me. Okay. So they begin to talk to my wife. They call. Sometimes when some of them call me and they can't reach me, they will just call my wife that, where is your husband? I need to talk to him, you know. So we and all of this boils down to self-control. And I'll give you one specific example. This is very key. I was in the bank. This lady was in the bank. We became close. And it was, okay, she was in the process of leaving her husband. And when I found out that we were becoming close, I made her meet my wife. And before I knew it, we moved into an estate and she focused on living in that estate. And before I knew it, she found herself in the estate. So one of my elderly friends now called me and said, I said, no, I don't have any kind of relationship like that with her. He said, you may not know. So it was at that point I just realized that there was a need for me to sever that relationship.
Okay. I think very importantly, you know, that first as men, we must know what our weak points are and know the red flags. What are the red flags? Because all men are not the same. We all have different threshold, you know, for all these relationship with women and exposures to these things. So we must know as men, what's my red flag? What is this for me that I cannot handle? For example, I've told my wife a very, sometime that, long time that I'm not going to encourage any long distance separation.
Wherever you're going,
do you understand?
we're going together.
I don't think I can handle it as a person for a long time, separation. That I also, that's a red flag for me, and I know it. Another red flag, that maybe one can understand is that prolonged solitude with somebody of the opposite sex, just in a place, for example, where we have in churches, we are counseling, you're something, you're in a room with somebody, the room is locked and everything.
It's not even wise. Those are the kind of boundaries.
So you need to just, those are things that you need to create. You understand? That's a red flag. Then 3, what we've talked about, that the companionships, the people that you surround yourself with. Who are your closest friends? Are they the people that, cheating on is not a big deal to them? But if you have people that will say, guy, like you said just now, that somebody will tell you that this woman, are you sure? But somebody will say,
sometimes when you can see,
you see, so they can tell you. So so those are like things that one is to.
Thank you for what you've said. I think their advice for the men. But if you remember where we started from, it was actually a woman that raised this and said, I have done everything this man wants. What can I do? Everything he wants, I do it. I love him, I build, but he's always out there with women. What can also women do if they have a cheating husband?
We are spiritual people.
Okay.
And if you're saying, we started with the fact that the first thing you need to know is you need to fear God. And that if you fear God, of course, even if you have like a misstep, it should not be like a continuous thing. If a woman comes to the point where that happens, then she has to know that if she really wants, because a person
needs to go on her knees.
She needs to really come, like, there has to be like a spiritual side.
I actually also feel that cheating is spiritual. It's a physical act, but I think it's spiritual.
So the woman.
The woman really needs to go. All this, like, she needs to do like this 12 midnight prayer. When you wake up 12
yes,
and you're saying, Father, you need to intervene.
But the thing about it is that we're not focused on the woman, but we're talking about it that if it's a woman that really wants that family, that wants that home.
Yes, and it's a woman that even raised this issue. So she needs to pray. And let's know that there's nothing God cannot do.
Exactly.
What advice do you have for women, sir?
I think I agree with praying, but be outside praying, the woman should also take specific steps.
Okay.
It could be a psychological problem, so the woman should pray and ask God for
direction
for God, and take specific steps. First is speak with the man.
Excellent.
What are the challenges? What are the issues?
So, sorry to interrupt. It's not about fighting.
No.
It's not about holding his shirt. It's not about checking his phone. No. Can we sit down and talk?
About it.
So you can talk about it
and find out. You talk about it and find out. In the course of doing that, the woman has to be attentive to make observations. Do you know the truth? The cause could even be the woman. Maybe she's not even realizing. And then if she finds out that, okay, fine, based on all the things I've heard from him, there are certain things I'm not doing right.
Yeah.
So
she can adjust.
Make adjustments. And where I think it's a problem, then we sit down at a family problem between the two of us to resolve.
Talk about it.
I give you an example. I think I heard Pastor Chris say this, that men are supposed to give and they are ever ready, while women
are supposed to receive.
And when it comes to sex in marriage, men are ever ready. And that, so at some point you want to make love to your wife, she's giving you excuses every now and then, and you have desires, and then the husband then decides to visit other women outside and do what he wants to do. And you do it once, you do it twice, and you see it's convenient, And today I will tell you it's really convenient. I met somebody recently who told me that, I don't bother chasing young ladies, that all those widows, they are very available and they don't cost you money.
Okay.
You know. So what I'm saying is that our women should not make it convenient for men to go outside and then cheat.
Okay.
So if a woman observes that these are my lacking areas, what do I need to do to up the game?
Okay.
And if it's a problem, you hear some women who are frigid, then maybe we need to seek medical help. But the two of them their support system will let them realize that this is a family problem.
Okay. What I believe that it is very true that sometimes the woman is not ready, the man is ready. In fact, it happens all the time. I think it happens to all women. What I would tell men is that it's not an excuse.
Really
because
true.
what you need to do, and we talked about you being the man and the head of the home. God has given you wisdom. God has given you sense. Find a way around that woman. Every woman has a button you can press. What happens with men sometimes is that men, like you said, men are ever ready. So they come like this. I'm ready now. It might not always work like that. If it doesn't work like that, is there another way out for the men? Doesn't work. You can start preparing from the morning and getting her ready. Call her on phone, baby, you're so lovely, or whatever. You know? And it's not an excuse to cheat. It's for you to find out, how can I, like you said, even if you need to seek counseling, seek counseling. If you need to seek advice. So men, I think another reason why men cheat is because they use this as an excuse and say, my wife is not ready when I'm ready, and so I'm going to go out there. I would like all men to know that it's not, definitely not, it's not an excuse. It is how to, resolve
from where we started, and the focus is really on the men.
It's on the men.
The women.
Yeah.
So we as the men, we're not using the women as an excuse, And that's why I've said that the first point is for us to say fear God. And
fear God and
look for your triggers. Look for your red flags. You understand? As a man, even if there are issues with the woman, your wife, and you're having issues, you have to find a way around.
You find a way around it.
You understand? Because we always say, to a very large extent, men are more
ready,
more active, more wanting.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yinka, for being here. Pastor Tolu, thank you very much. I think all your wisdom about marriage, you have brought everything. You have dumped it here for the benefit of everybody that is watching. God bless you.
Thank you for me.
And our viewers, once again, if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, please can you do so now. See you again next time. Thank you.